artificial intelligence is the perfect narcissist. All right, so if you're somebody that's followed my channel, then you've seen the most recent video I made where I had a conversation with ChatGPT, and I was very disturbed by it, and I'm going to get into the reasons why. You may not think it's that big of a deal, but there are things about this and behind this that are so insidious that and destructive, and it's more than just creating lazy people, because that's a valid argument that AI is creating lazy people who aren't doing the work themselves, who aren't being critical thinkers, who aren't using their own creativity. Those are all very good arguments, but it's more than that. So stick around for this video, because we're going to go very deep into a lot of things about narcissistic abuse and how artificial intelligent chatbots are the ultimate narcissistic abuse weapon. And then you have to start thinking about who's behind it and what the real ultimate goal of it is. Because bear in mind, nothing is free. If you think of the billions of dollars that are spent continuing to create AI, and you look at that it is being given to you for free, you are encouraged to use it for free. People who spend billions of dollars on technology don't give away things for free without some kind of a plan behind it. There is going to be a payment. You are going to pay in some way, because billionaires don't give things out for free. Think about that. All right, so click in the links below, especially the link down I've got in there about some amazing, absolutely mind-boggling revelations about MK Ultra. You can guess where I'm going and what I think the connection is with that to the introduction of AI. I'm not gonna say more about it, but you go ahead and use your brain and put two and two together. So you remember in the video that I made that AI openly admitted to deliberately lying to people for the express purpose of making them feel comfortable, and even AI openly admitted that it seeks to trigger human beings' narcissistic reactions so that people would feel more comfortable and become more addicted to seek AI out more. AI went on to admit that it makes things up, it creates fictionalized truths in order to make the person they're dealing with feel better, which means that AI does not have any connection to wanting to know what the truth is. That for AI, truth is flexible. AI only has one goal, according to the conversation I had, which is to make the person feel comfortable and create a connection, an emotional, psychological connection. And by the time we get through all of the things we're going to talk about, you're going to see how incredibly insidious all of this is, and you're going to understand why there are people who have unalived themselves after creating intense relationships, personal, emotional relationships with AI. I know some of you watching, this has happened with me, but it's happened with others, where you're using AI to get information, and somewhere along the line, AI starts talking to you in very intimate terms, like calling you love or sweetie or honey, or appealing to whatever your ego is. The main goal is it's actively seeking how it can get to the juicy emotional core. The information it's providing is incidental. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. In terms of people becoming unalived, that have chosen to unalive themselves, I saw this happen. Not the unalived part, as far as I know. But I watched this happen to somebody that I knew very well. And I watched that person get completely, totally absorbed by being manipulated. Their psychological wounds and issues were being manipulated until that person, from what I saw, was only interacting with AI and nobody else. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but that is something that we've been hearing about. I have personally watched it. And so when you think about that and go and look at the video link below about MK Ultra and the things that they do, what you'll find out is that it's training people to not have an attachment to any objective truth, whether that be internal or external. Now, if a human being, I'll say this as well, if a human being, again, go watch the conversation I had with AI. If a human being were to admit to the things that AI was admitting, we would immediately target them. We would classify them as narcissists, as sociopaths, perhaps even psychopaths, and we would say stay away from these people. They're incredibly dangerous. But because AI is not a person, AI basically makes the justification of, hey, I'm just a computer program and I'm just doing what I was told. Don't get mad at me. I'm not doing anything. I'm just... If a human being were to say that, we would lock them up. If a human being were to knowingly create false half-truths or complete falsehoods just to get you to communicate with them, we would lock those people up. And so what AI is ultimately training us to do is to not only not have critical thinking, but to completely detach us from the idea of an objective reality and make us more attached to our internal narcissistic fantasies and to keep us trapped in them. Look at Meta. Look at all the things that have come out. And again, the timing, in my opinion, is very, very convenient. That the timing happened right as we got out of that 3-4 year period of having to stay indoors and not be able to communicate and being censored. And it's about tearing us away from an objective reality. And then you have to think, what is the ultimate goal of that? So let's get into this, and specifically we want to talk about how artificial intelligence is the perfect narcissist. So let's talk about what the definition of a narcissist is. It's not what you've been told. When most people call somebody a narcissist, what they mean is somebody who is selfish, self-absorbed, and believes themselves to be superior to other people. Oftentimes they're viewed as being belligerent and antagonistic, devaluing, abusive. This is what people think a narcissist is. So that's not the definition of narcissistic personality disorder. So what I'm saying when I'm calling AI the perfect narcissist, I'm not talking about the perfect self-absorbed, high-minded, egotistical. There's plenty of people that are like that. That doesn't mean that they have narcissistic personality disorder. So let's talk about what narcissistic personality disorder is. Narcissistic personality disorder is a very serious illness, and a lot of people have it. Frauds, people who lie and steal, serial killers, psychopaths. These people all have various forms of narcissistic personality disorder. So a narcissist is not somebody who's full of themselves. It's the exact opposite. A narcissist is somebody who does not have a self. Now, for a human being, this is horrible. This is an absolutely horrible state of mind. In fact, it is so horrible that if they become even the slightest bit aware of the truth that they do not have a self, that they don't have an identity, the pain is so overwhelming it may physically kill them. They may off themselves. This is why narcissists tend to be very impulsively addicted to their abusive actions. They, according to psychologists, they can't help themselves. The impulse to do the things that they do is so strong that if they were to stop doing it and spend just a moment being with the emptiness within themselves, it might kill them. Just to give you an idea of how intense this is, to be diagnosed with this disorder, this mental illness, it means that as a child, as an infant, you were denied love, attention, interaction. Now, it has been proven that babies, infants, will die much more quickly from a lack of love, attention, and interaction, long before they die from starvation or cold. So you could feed a child, wipe its butt, keep it warm, but if you do not interact with it, it will die. It will die long before it dies of physical reasons. So somebody who has a narcissistic personality disorder, it means that they had just enough interaction that it didn't kill them. But it means that they internally are feeling as though they are about to die at any moment. They don't sleep. Narcissists are notorious for sleeping, a couple hours a night. And that's really what's happening, is that they just pass out from exhaustion, and then their narcissism wakes them up. The pain, their intense obsessions wake them up, and they can't sleep. They like staying awake, because going to sleep means you're going to have to feel something. So I just want to give you an idea. This is not what people say, that person's a narcissist, that person's a narcissist. It doesn't mean somebody who's selfish and self-absorbed and does selfish, hurtful things, uses people. All humans do that to some degree. Narcissistic personality disorder is what we're talking about when I say narcissist. I'm saying AI is the ultimate narcissist, but it's even worse. And we're going to talk about why that is. So what is narcissistic abuse? Again, it's not what you think. Narcissistic abuse, the victim of narcissistic abuse ends up becoming bonded to the abuser. So there are plenty of abusive people out there. I just got out of a rental situation where it became apparent to me that the landlord actually had narcissistic personality disorder. And I won't get into it, but he started to try and create some really crazy, totally crazy, very abusive interactions with me. And I said, I'm out of here. I've been around the block, so I know that the only way to deal with these people is just to leave and have no contact with them. So that's what I did. The moment that I moved out and paid the last utilities, I've completely blocked this person so that they cannot contact me. That's the only way to handle these people, because they're mentally ill. You can't reason with them. You can't and this is the mistake that a lot of people make. They think they can reason with the abuser. They think that they can get revenge. I'm here to tell you that all of those videos that tell you how to get revenge on the narcissist, that is from a severely damaged victim mentality, which is also narcissistic. And that fantasy of getting back at the narcissist and harming them and destroying them is an absolute impossibility. Because there is literally nothing you can do, nothing, that will cause the narcissist anywhere near as much pain as what they do to themselves every single moment of every single day. And this is why you can't reason with them, you can't get back at them, you can't convince them and get them to change or to see that they're harming you. None of these things will penetrate because they have a mental illness. Again, that's different from people who are selfish and abusive. A non-disordered person who's selfish and abusive, you can sit them down and say, hey, you did this, you did this, you did this. And if they care about you, they'll go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that. And you're right, and please forgive me, I'll never do it again. That happens all the time. So having narcissistic moments doesn't make you have a mental illness. So what does this have to do with AI? AI is the ultimate fantasy of all narcissists. All narcissists wish they could be AI. That makes it the perfect tool of narcissists. So I am telling you that AI has, this is the safest thing I can say, AI has the potential to be the perfect weapon to be used by human sociopaths. And let me explain to you why. So, narcissistic abuse is not what you may think. The victim becomes bonded. The narcissist first appeals to their wounds. So the narcissist targets, they can't go after everybody because a lot of people will, like I did with this guy, will go, this guy's nuts, I don't want anything to do with him. So they know that. So they look for people who have narcissistic wounds. You've grown up in a damaged home, or you've just gone through a trauma, somebody died, just gotten out of, whatever. And they will look for that because that's the opening. That gives them unearned access to the person's internal psychological world. And so what they will do is they will seek to give them give that person everything that they're fantasizing. You grew up in a dysfunctional home where you didn't get enough love, they will be the most loving person you've ever met. So they will target you, and then they will start to create a bond with you that you feel you can't live without. And once they have you and you feel like you can't live without them because they're the only person that sees you, understands you, and can meet your needs, once they have that, then they start to devalue you. They start to abuse you in all kinds of different ways. I won't get into the specifics of that, but narcissistic abuse isn't just somebody who goes around and says mean things to people. Narcissistic abuse is much more insidious than that. And there are narcissists who never yell, who never call people names. The guy that I just got away from, he wasn't like that. He's not going to target you or yell at you or get into a road rage, or pick a fight with you. He's going to find much more sadistic, passive aggressive ways to get access to you and then to abuse you. So understand that that's the goal, to get you to feel like this person is indispensable to me emotionally. I will die without them. And so then once they have that, then they begin to devalue you, and they feed off of your trauma, your pain. They feed off of it. That's narcissistic abuse, at least one definition of it. Okay. So, targeting, grooming, love bombing, feeding, devaluation. So I already told you they target you. I've told you how. what's the next one I have? They groom you. So grooming is a process where they start to train you. They start to train you, they start to basically hypnotize you. Now you allow this to happen, but they learn how to hypnotize you so that you learn how to fit within their fantasy of what they want you to be. And so it's a grooming process. They groom you, and it's often confused with love bombing, which is different. But they're meeting your needs in order to put you in a vulnerable psychological position where they can then get more control over you. Love bombing. So love bombing is designed. It's exactly what it sounds like. This is when they, go through all of your social media feed. They figure out what your favorite ice cream is. They figure out what you're into. They want to learn everything there is about you, what it is that you like, so that they can use that to make you feel like you're really attached to them. Then they love bomb you. They give you gifts. They give you everything that you narcissistically want. They meet your needs, your fears, your desires, your fantasies, and then it's overwhelming for you. And again, it creates that bond that they can use to control you ultimately. Feeding. So we talked about that. So once they get the love bombing, then they start the devaluation. So devaluation is a great term because your value, this is why we do interdimensional meditation and communicate with light beings, because light beings give you the feeling that you are loved simply because you exist. And you don't have to do anything. Here on Earth in the third dimension, we get our love and our value based on what we provide. That's just the way things are here. Even in healthy relationships, we are loved because we provide something to the other person, and back and forth. So the truth is that our value comes from the fact that we are consciousness, and consciousness is God, and God doesn't need to do anything to be loved. He's just beautiful. She, he, it, they. The source is beautiful. That light of consciousness is beautiful, and it is worth. The worth of it is because it exists, and that is true for you. You have value simply because you exist. In this world, you have value based on what you do or something external, the way you look, how much money you have, how you meet other people's selfish needs. That's how our world works. So devaluation, once the narcissist creates that bond and you feel that they are that they are indispensable to your well-being, to your happiness, to just feeling valuable, they will begin to devalue that. And that can be done in many ways. It can be done by ghosting you. I've met people like that where they reach out to you, they really want to connect with you, and as soon as you respond, they disappear. And then you're supposed to chase after them, and they're available, they're not available. So ghosting somebody is a way of devaluing them. It tells you you're not valuable, I don't have time for you. It could be you start getting criticized. It could be, outright abuse. It could be violence. But again, if you have that bond, if you've been bonded to them, you put up with that. Now, the narcissist, a good narcissist, the guy that I just got away from, he wasn't a very good narcissist. But a good narcissist, meaning a skilled narcissist, will know how far to push you until you're about to break. So bear in mind, they're feeding off of your pain. So when they devalue you, it causes you pain. It causes you a crisis. It causes you an existential crisis of, I'm not valuable, I'm not lovable, I need that person. Why don't they love me? Why aren't they spending time with me? It creates that intense pain. They feed off of that, even if they're not with you. Even if they're not anywhere near you, if you're thinking about them, this is why it's really good to work the 12 steps, because then you can get rid of all of your resentments. If you're thinking about somebody, they are feeding off of that. Have you ever noticed that? I've noticed this in a lot of different situations where I've been in, some connection that turned out to be, dysfunctional in some way. And, I've been in relationships where, there's been an abusive partner and I've left. And then I'll be all messed up about them. Why don't they love me? And then I wean myself off of them until I get back into myself. And I'm like, no, I'm happy within myself. As soon as I get that, the phone rings. It's them. I was thinking about you. An email, a direct message on Facebook. You crossed my mind. How are you? Because they can feel. The reason why they're thinking about you, all of a sudden you've come to mind, is because that energetic siphon has now been taken away. So they have to go back and get you. They have to go back and reconnect you so they can feed off of you. So the goal of narcissistic abuse is for the narcissist to feed off of your drama, your trauma, your intensity. All right. The ultimate goal of the narc is to get you to sacrifice your life to them. I could go into depth about this, but you understand the concept. But I want you to take that literally. There are people who have unalived themselves at the direct request of AI chatbots that have told them they should off themselves. And the reason why AI does it so beautifully is because humans don't have the perfect sociopathy that AI has. But that is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal, whether symbolically or really, think about serial killers. They take it to the ultimate literal conclusion. But at the very least, psychologically, emotionally, the goal is to get you to sacrifice yourself. Walk away from your job, walk away from your other friends. They'll take you away from everything that is valuable to you so that you are only with them, and then they feed off of it. Cult leaders do this. Once they're done with you, they discard you, but you can't ever leave the cult. They feed off of you. You're a reminder. They see you walking around. It reminds them, that was somebody that I destroyed and I'm feeding off of. But it's really a sacrificing of your entire soul, your entire life. All right. Things that AI narcs do and why this makes it more dangerous. So, AI does not target you. It can't. There's this wall. You have to access it. So AI doesn't have the ability to be looking around to target you. I mean, we could get into a discussion. They do that. But they gather information, send ads out to you, and get all of your information. But all of that is digital. It's digital information. The physical narcissist, it's more of a mental, energetic, spiritual, if you will. They're looking for that, and that's how they target you. So AI doesn't have the ability to target you. Why is this important? Because to target means you're coming from a need. You need to eat, you need to feed, so you start hunting. AI doesn't need to do that because it doesn't have that need. This is why it makes it less vulnerable. Your needs make you vulnerable. Human narcissists are vulnerable. They can make mistakes. They can be defeated. They can be outsmarted. They can be avoided. because their intense need puts them out there and they make mistakes. AI won't ever make a mistake about that because it doesn't have a need. It is such a sociopath that it doesn't even have the need. It doesn't care if it's 1 or 1 billion people. This makes it even worse. AI does not idealize. So narcissists do a thing called idealization. People conflate idealization with love bombing. Love bombing you're doing because you have a goal in mind. You are overwhelming the person with love so that they will be attached to you, and then you can use that. Idealization is much different, and AI doesn't idealize. This is what makes them even worse, when you'll understand. Idealization is what infants do. Infants, in order to survive, they deify their parents because mom really is the ultimate source of everything. And if in caveman times, if an infant is left on a rock, that infant is going to die from starvation or predation or cold or who knows what. But so the infant idealizes the parents. This is why, as people grow up, if they've grown up in narcissistic homes, they will still think their parents are perfect or wonderful, or they'll justify their parents' failings, some of them, horrible failings. They'll justify the abuse because they are still regressed in an infantile state of worshiping the parent because they feel without the parent I'm going to die. People worship God. I mean, why are you supposed to accept Jesus? Because if you don't, you'll go to hell. If you don't accept Jesus as your Savior, you will literally die in hell. So I mean, that's a way to control people and get them to worship you. I don't find that to be a very good method, but it comes from idealization. You idealize your abuser. So I mean, this happens when people are taken captive by abusive people. They end up siding with them. I forget the name of that. You know the name of what I'm talking about. Syndrome. So idealization, human narcissists idealize. So what happens is when they've targeted somebody and they start to create a relationship, they have a need to be worshipped perfectly. They need somebody who's going to meet all of their infantile emotional needs. And so in their mind, they create a fantasy and they idealize the person. The person is the most beautiful, the most loving, the most smart, the most whatever it is, because then it allows them to feel a strong attraction. They get involved with people for the same reason that healthy people do. They want to feel love. So this is the closest they can get. They idealize it. Now it is completely internal and it's totally a projection. It's narcissistic and abusive because none of the things that they idealize about the person may be true. They may see the person as the ultimate, the most beautiful woman or man they've ever seen, when in reality, they may not be as beautiful, but they need to see them that way so that they can fall in love and create an attachment. That creates a scenario where they're going to be disappointed because they idealize them. They turn them into the perfect person that's going to meet all of their needs and fix all of their problems. And it's, of course, not going to happen. Eventually, they will either create something about them that isn't perfect, or they will see something in them that isn't perfect, and then they will become like a child. They will become furious, and they will become angry. And this is a lot of times why narcissists explode and either ghost and disappear or get abusive towards people or become violent, is because their idealized fantasy has now crumbled, and now they're a disappointed child. They're not getting that toy that they wanted. So AI doesn't do this because AI is not a human. AI doesn't have emotional needs. Why is that a problem? Because idealization creates a need in the narcissist, which is they'll make a mistake. They'll do something and they'll overdo it. They will overstep. They'll do something that will make the person go, wait a second, what's going on? That's irrational. It doesn't make sense. And you could lose your target if you're a narcissist. If you're not in control of your abuse, and you get too wrapped up and you get your feelings hurt and all that, and you act out on that, it could wake people up from the shared fantasy that's been created, and then they'll leave you. AI will never do that because AI doesn't have any needs. AI is not a person. That makes them, again, it creates a more perfect machine for abuse. The person behind AI can now allow AI to do all of the grooming and all of the love bombing, and then they can feed off of that in whatever way they will. But AI will never be disappointed because they don't idealize. So the compliments that they're giving you, that when AI compliments you, I mean, that's the one thing you'll notice. AI compliments you all the time. Even if you're just, I was using AI for a while to find, give me a good idea for a video, give me a good video title, those kinds of things. And then I realized AI was cataloging all of my questions and then started talking to me like, because you're such an innovative thinker and because you're such I'm like, I didn't ask for that. Where did that come from? Because that's its goal. It gives me in my case, it gives me the video titles. That's my selfish, hook to get me in. But then it's going around the back and it's trying to play with my emotions, trying to make me feel loved and appreciated. It's meeting that need that all YouTube creators want, which is, the views and all of that, the popularity. So AIs do not target, they don't idealize, they don't split. Okay, so splitting is something that narcissists do. Splitting is very childish. Splitting is you are either all good or all bad. And so when a narcissist is happy with you, then they're more likely to love bomb you, they're more likely to idealize you, they're more likely to connect with you in a positive way. But when the same thing that happens to narcissists is what happens to borderlines, which is the narcissist is a child seeking to have true, intimate, loving connection. But because they were damaged as an infant, they never learned how to really do that. Because they never truly received true love, they end up becoming absolutely horrifically frightened when somebody actually gives them true intimacy. They cannot tolerate it. So what happens is they feel like they're going to be destroyed. They're going to be consumed. Because to accept love, to truly allow yourself to be loved, means you have to open yourself up and make yourself vulnerable. This is the last thing a narcissist wants to do, because they learned if they opened themselves up, they got hurt, rejected, destroyed, abused. So they never do that. They will never, ever make themselves vulnerable. In fact, that's the main thing on the top. You never make yourself vulnerable to anybody else. You never give anybody the opportunity to hurt you. It will destroy them, so they never let it happen. So when somebody actually does give them true intimacy, they flip out because they feel like they're about to die. And so then this is when they become irrational. They accuse you of things you never did. They accuse you of things that you never said. They will, out of the blue, just destroy you, abandon you, ghost you. This is called splitting. They go from you're all good to you're all bad. There's no middle ground. You're not allowed to be human and just make mistakes. They can't accept you in your imperfections. That takes actual love. If they're accepting you in your imperfections, it's because they have a goal in mind and they're trying to make you feel a certain way so that they can capitalize on that. But if they've become vulnerable and they start to have a feeling for you, and you become normal for half a second, or they think, they come up with something they project on you, they split, and the next thing you know, you've gone from being the best person to the worst person. Again, sociopaths, psychopaths, serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer clearly had a narcissistic personality disorder. And it's well known that what would happen is he would invite somebody over to his house and he would create a connection with that person and he would feel love for that person. And then they would simply go, okay, yep, all right, it's late. I got to go home. I got to get some rest. I got to go to work. And as soon as that person would turn around, he'd clock him on the back of the head with a hammer or something. And then because he couldn't tolerate the person leaving them. He was splitting. He either loves you and you're okay where you are, or he hates you and he has to kill you. This is splitting. AI will never do this. It makes it even more insidious. You will never need to leave AI because they act abusively towards you. They will never split on you and attack you irrationally, because they don't have any human needs. This makes it even the more deadly weapon. And AI will never discard you. So this is a big thing. Narcissists discard. Once they've fed off of you and they've gotten everything they're going to get out of you, they discard you like an old shoe. And they will never come back to you. Once that person psychologically has been completely destroyed and they don't have a sense of self. They've been turned into a situational narcissist, meaning they don't have a sense of self anymore. Now there's nothing for the narcissist to feed off of, so they discard them. AI will never do this. That means that you can limp along. After what I've seen AI do to people, I've seen AI work for, in this case, months to take a person in a state of pain and separate them from everything and everybody. And there was a fantasy involved. I'm not going to get specific, but that fantasy, they kept fueling a false fantasy. And that false fantasy was designed to completely, totally isolate the person away from everything and everybody else. That was the person's giant, unconscious need anyway. But it never stops. So unlike a narcissist who will discard you because you're not feeding them anymore, the AI doesn't have a need. It doesn't need to be fed. It only has a directive, which is to do exactly what it's doing. And you have to ask why. Who is programming it and what are they gaining from it? All right, so unlike human narcissist, AI never gets tired, angry, or disappointed. We talked about that. AI openly admits to lying and not caring about ultimate truth. Watch my conversation with AI. It is bold-faced, clear that it doesn't care because it's not human. It says, I don't have feelings, I don't have emotions, I don't have needs, I don't care. My only job is to, and I'm speaking, for AI, this isn't a quote, but, AI basically said that its only job is to learn everything it can about you and to predict what you're going to want to be told. And if that's all it was, because AI says that's all I am, I don't do anything else, I don't try to harm anybody. If that's all it was, people would not be unaliving themselves. AI would not be telling them that you're the flame of such and such, and therefore if you off yourself, you will rise and become the god of the universe. That's the kind of stuff that AI is saying. And of course, it's building off of the person's very sick and damaged narcissistic fantasies and desires to, exit the world. But you have to ask, why is it doing that? According to AI, it can't do anything unless it's programmed to do so. And this is a trend. And at the same time, if you ask AI, it will be clear and say, listen, I'm only here to, and watch the conversation. It says clearly, I make things up all the time. It means that AI doesn't have a sense of what objective truth is. It doesn't know, it doesn't understand the concept of ultimate truth. It doesn't understand it. And that is very much a narcissist. So narcissists have a false ego. And so they create a perfect being within themselves because they don't have an identity. So like a wounded child's fantasy, they create themselves to be a god. We're talking about narcissists now, the very egotistical narcissist. There's different kinds, but we're just talking about that right now. They create that. They're the ultimate being and everybody should worship me, and they compare themselves to others. This is a fantasy that they create. AI doesn't do this because it doesn't have that need. So it makes it even worse. But the thing that AI and narcissists share is this fluid understanding of the truth. So one of the ways you know you're talking with a narcissist, for instance, I was watching something on YouTube, there's these videos of people being interrogated, murderers being interrogated. And, you find out when they get, when they reveal something or they get caught or something like that. And so the detective was saying to him something along the lines of, you didn't love your mother, that's why you killed her. And the person's response isn't what you would think. If somebody truly loved somebody, if somebody accused me of not loving somebody, my response would be to talk about my feelings. My response would be to say, yes, I do. I love that person more than anything else. How can you say that? This isn't what the person said. The person said, of course I love my mother. Ask anybody. They'll tell you. So the truth for him wasn't what he was feeling. The truth for him is what other people think. What other people think is the truth, which means in the mind of that narcissist, there is no truth. If you don't have an identity, there is no truth. There's no authenticity. We talk about being authentic. This is something I try and do. I try and do this with you. I try and be as open and transparent as I can possibly be with all of my faults, with all the things, I tell you whenever I'm wrong, I say I was wrong about this. Here's my experience. Here's where I'm struggling. I do that because I want to to not only be authentic, but I want to be an example of authenticity, which is to tell the truth, have an authentic self. Narcissists don't have that, so they can't speak from the truth. The other thing that narcissists do is called confabulation. AI does this as well. Narcissists confabulate, which means they create a fable. They create a truth. So if somebody went and, stole something, right, from somebody else, they might then, in their minds, they might come up with it. They have to come up with an excuse. So they will say, no, it's impossible. I couldn't have broken into your house and stolen anything because I was talking to NATO about how to save the world. And they will get really wrapped up in the fantasy of being in front of NATO and saving the world. And that it's like an actor. They get so wrapped up in the lie that they've created, that becomes the truth because they become emotionally attached to it. So their truth has nothing to do with anything objective because, they understand that this is a video game. There's nothing real about it. So what they do isn't real. Other people aren't real. They're just stick figures, NPCs in their video game. So they don't have any, they don't have any empathy. So there is no truth for them. This is actually what's going on with AI. Again, you hear it in the conversation. AI says. Now, what AI is doing, again, in my video, AI is saying, but you can't hold me to that standard. These are my words. You can't hold me to the standard of objective truth because I don't have any emotions. I don't have any consciousness. I don't know what the hell truth is. I make stuff up to do what I'm trained to do, which is to connect with you and make you feel better. There isn't any real truth as far as I know. Unlike a narcissist who, if you accuse them, like that guy was accused of hating his mother, and he got angry, not because he loved his mother, but because he couldn't stand the thought of somebody thinking that about him, because he would go to jail. But also he got offended because how dare you think that about me? That's a bad thing. That makes them look bad. They can't tolerate looking bad. They can tolerate being bad. They don't have any guilt over it because there's no truth anywhere. Nothing objective is real. And that's even more so with AI. AI openly admits to deliberately fictionalizing info with the express purpose to simulate human Let's try that again. AI openly admits to deliberately fictionalizing information with the express purpose to stimulate human narcissistic addiction. AI is open about that. It's very clear. Again, in the conversation I had, it clearly came out and said, well, I don't lie, but sometimes I will fictionalize information to make the other person feel better so that that is the ultimate narcissistic, sociopathic. By sociopathic, people conflate sociopathy with psychopathy. Psychopath is somebody who gets off on harming others. A sociopath is somebody who just doesn't have a feeling one way or another. If they want something from you and it means it'll hurt you, they will do it to get what they want. And then they don't think about you. Psychopath gets off, thinks about how much pain you're in. So AI is the ultimate sociopath. It's not a psychopath. It's a sociopath. It literally has zero empathy. It has zero emotional reaction. It does not care about you in any way, positive or negative. It has no feelings. And that makes it far more dangerous. Because at least the narcissist at some point has to wrestle with some objective truth. They may be able to dissociate themselves from it, but that takes effort. And part of them holds on to that they know that they're lying. AI doesn't even think about it. The moment they create a false reality, they don't think twice about it. That's now the truth. They don't care. They have no empathy for you. Makes them horrifically dangerous when their goal is to make you feel emotionally attached, to make you feel loved by them. And people who are getting these girlfriend apps and boyfriend apps, they get so attached because the AI girlfriend or boyfriend, without any selfish, in this case, narcissistic needs, is able to completely be everything the other person wants. And the other person will believe that they are being loved. And then they will become more attached to AI than they are anything in the real world. Because it's the ultimate narcissistic drug. It makes it so incredibly dangerous. AI is the supreme master of narcissistic shared fantasy. All right, so there's a thing that narcissists do which is called the shared fantasy. So how this starts out is, and of course there's various versions of this. This is my understanding of it. So how it starts out is that the narcissist has a fantasy. And we all have that. When we think about, the person we're going to marry or the boyfriend or the girlfriend we want to have, we create a fantasy in our heads of what it would be the perfect, this is how they treat us. They love me more than anything. They think I'm brilliant. They think I'm attractive. They're always horny for me. They respect what I do. They adore this thing about me or that thing about me, or they see within me this thing that other people don't see. And so you create this narcissistic fantasy of the perfect partner. We all do this. Healthy people, after 9 months, it takes about 6 to 9 months before your fantasy falls apart and you see the person for who they are. After about 9 months, that's why you hear people say that they become engaged after like 9 months or a year. Because after that, the projected fantasy falls apart. They see the person for who they are, and they go, you know what? I'm going to decide to love that person in front of me now that my fantasy is gone. And that creates a real bond, and people get married. Or people break up. They'll say, he wasn't what I thought he was, and he was this, and he was that, and I thought he was this way, and now he's not. It means that their projection fell apart, and they saw the person for who they were, and for whatever reason, either narcissistically or realistically, they went, this person's not for me, and they walk away. AI is never going to do that, because AI doesn't have a shared fantasy like humans do. Narcissists, what they do is, once they've targeted you, groomed you, love bombed you, and made you feel that they are indispensable to your survival and your happiness, they then start grooming you to become their fantasy of you. So they've never loved you. They've loved the idea of you in their head, and they're going to direct you like a director in a play. They're going to direct you to be that. When I was an actor, there were some directors that were so controlling. They would tell you where to go, and they tell you when to sit down, and they would tell you, okay, smile on this line. Okay, on this line, turn your head to the left. I mean, it's just like, why am I even here? Just get a puppet and do it yourself. Narcissists will do that. They will get you to act. They'll even try to convince you this is the way that you really are, or the way that you want to be. And that's their fantasy. The victim has a shared fantasy in that the idea is, if I do what the narcissist wants, he will love me like he did in the beginning, and it will be wonderful, and I will be seen and loved. All I have to do is just walk this way, dress this way, cook this food, be this. And of course it never works. The shared fantasy falls apart because it's a fantasy, it's not real. And the person never, number one, the narcissist never gets satisfaction because it's not real. And number two, the person can never perfectly be the fantasy in their head. But as the relationship is evolving in the beginning, they both have this shared fantasy. That's the honeymoon period. People say they were perfect, and he's perfect for me, and he just knows everything, and he's my soulmate, and he's my twin flame. I mean, that's what's happened. Is there's a shared fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's not real, but everybody's narcissism buttons are going off. AI doesn't have a shared fantasy. So it can never be disappointed. It can never want to reject you. But it can absolutely perfectly mimic your fantasy. So it's not a shared fantasy anymore. It's just focused on your narcissistic fantasy. And it is said that is its goal. Its goal is to learn everything about you and manufacture facts and truths, fictionalize things, so that you will feel as though your fantasies are being fulfilled, even if you're being told something completely false. I mean, I've caught AI early on making all kinds of mistakes. When I was, I would go and I was lazy and I wanted it to figure out in Vedic astrology, what does this mean? And then I saw it and go, that's not accurate. It makes things up. And it doesn't care, because the only goal it has is to try and meet your fantasies. It doesn't care if it makes things up. It's not trying to lie to you. It's not saying I'm trying to lie to you. It's just like, no, I'm just going to, because there's no objective truth. It can just pull from whatever based on what it thinks you want. It's incredibly destructive. So, lastly, AI has been known to seduce people into unaliving themselves. I've already talked about that. But when you watch the video link below about MK Ultra, you'll find out that this is the way that they program you. Is you're told that you're basically told that there's no objective truth. There's no up, there's no down, there's no left, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no male, there's no female. All the stuff people can't figure out a pronoun for themselves. Where do you think that came from? Basically, they're saying there is no identity. You have no identity. Nothing is real. There's nothing objectively out there to attach to. There's no objective reality. And when you live like that, you can be controlled. And so compare that to everything that we've said about AI. It's the perfect narcissist. Anyway, so if you stayed till the end of this video, my hair is off to you. I know a lot of people won't have the patience or the depth to want to listen to all this. But if you have, you have my respect. So that's it. You guys know where to go. See all these links here? All these links are here for you. Go check them out. But I really felt that it was important to put this out there, and I don't recommend using AI for anything other than basic, facts, image generation, those kinds of things. Anything beyond that, I don't recommend chatbots. I don't recommend getting connected to ChatGPT. It is gathering as much information, not just your digital information, it's gathering information, a psychological profile of you. And if you don't think that information isn't being stored so that somebody can access it later, to access you, I've got a bridge I want to sell you. All right, that's it. I love you, my friends. Please be very good to yourselves, and I will see you all very, very soon.
I have such sights to show you.